What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back with another top 6 video. And today, we're taking a look at top 6 dinos you should probably tame after you've been raided/wiped. So, if someone's come in, destroyed all your tames and whatnot, and you've got nothing left, well, these are probably some of the dinos that you should tame to help get back up on your feet, get your base set up, get revenge on those bastards that raided you/wiped you, and whatnot. So, let's get into it. Straight up though, coming in at number 1 is this little bugger here, the dodo. Look at this guy, he's definitely number 1 on this list. You do not want to mess with a dodo. Dodos are the pivotal to success in Ark. Trust me, I am an expert on this matter. Dodos are number 1 on this list because they are just so bloody amazing. Now, number 6, it's a little bit of a conundrum for some people. For me, it's not really that much of a hard choice, but some people will definitely get triggered if I do not include one of these dinos. So, number 6 comes in as your base primary herbivore. So obviously these are going to be like one of the first dinos you tame up, whether you're beginning your first playthrough of Ark or you've just been raped or whited, because essentially what these guys will allow you to do is gather all the berries that you need, make all the narcotics you need, provide protection from the larger carnivores. Trikes are easily capable of taking on Allosauruses, Rexes. Maybe Allosaurus is a little bit pushing it too far because of their little ability they have, but Stegos just as much. They can easily take on Rexes, so that's why the Trike and Stego are number 6 on this list, just because they have the all-round versatility that you need to get started in Ark or after you've been raided/wiped. So personally I prefer the Trike, but some of you guys might like the Stegos, obviously because they have the plates that protect you. Trikes essentially do the same thing with their headpiece. It all comes down to your personal preference. But then in the long haul, you can then use these guys to go raid back the other people, because obviously you can use them to soak up all the bullets that are pouring out of their turrets. So personally for me, I would go with the Trike at number 6, but you guys can go with the Stego, and these guys are easily capable of farming up all the berries, protecting you, traveling across the map till you find your new base location. So definitely recommend getting a Trike or a Stego after you've been raided/wiped, because these guys are just pivotal to any tribe. I'm telling you, any herbivore is pivotal to your tribe. Now, coming in at number 5, we have none other than the gigantic crocodile itself, the Sarco. Now, this guy has featured in our previous videos where we have kind of, roasted him a little bit, saying he's not really worth it. But since he has been receiving of the TLC pass, he has gotten a lot better. He now has a death roll, which we can't unfortunately show you because the TLC pass has not dropped for us yet. But this guy's a great all-round mount because you can obviously take him into the water, you can take him onto the land, and he's easily able to wreck the faces of most things throughout Ragnarok or the island, or wherever the heck else you're taming the Sarco up. He's a great underwater mount, great land mount, great in-between mount. You can easily take on the likes of the Megalodon. You can see here in front of us, this guy's going to get rickety wrecked by us. We're dealing 115 damage, which is a crazy amount of damage. This guy hasn't got any extra levels up on him. You can use the Sarco to gather meat, hide, things you need on land. You can use him to gather oil, silica pearls in the bottom of the ocean, angler gel even. He's just an all-round great mount, and something I would definitely recommend getting into after you've been raided or wiped. Just because of his versatility, he's easy to tame. You can easily just run around in a circle, and if you find that he's actually hitting you while you're running around in a circle, try and get him stuck in a tree, and you can easily knock this guy out, feed him some raw prime meat. I think it's a raw prime fish meat, not 100% sure now, but you'll easily be able to tame these guys up, and that's why I recommend taming up the Sarco at number 5 on this list. And coming in at number 4, we have the Argy, otherwise known as the Argentavis. This guy is great. He was great before the TLC pass, but now that he has gotten the TLC pass, he's even better. Not only does he reduce the amount of materials in his inventory by 50%, the weight of materials, so raw materials like metal and whatnot, it's just a great ability. He also has the ability to pick up other dinosaurs with not only his claws, but now his mouth as well. Now, unfortunately, we can't show you this in action just yet. We've yet to receive the TLC pass, but the RG is great because obviously you're going to need it for doing metal runs and whatnot, because these guys are easily able to transport a lot of metal. People used them for metal runs before the TLC was even released, because they just were able to get such ridiculous high amounts of weight on themselves, especially if you get a high level one. These guys are great. They can easily hold their own in a fight against other bird-based flying creatures, as well as the land-based carnivores and whatnot, and if they ever become overwhelming, well, you can just fly up into the air and leave them behind. The RG is great for that. It's a great pack mule, easily able to carry lots of weight and carry creatures which you can then set up in a taming trap and tame them up. That's why the RG is number 4 on this list.
Now, number 3 on this list is none other than the Anki. Much like the herbivores, the trike, and the stego that we mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Anki is also able to harvest berries with its secondary ability. You can see they were able to harvest berries, but as well as that, his main use is to obviously gather metal. Now, it reduces the amount of metal in his inventory by a whopping 75%. That is crazy. So essentially what you're going to want to have is an Anki or, a new base location set up near some metal nodes, or even have an Anki left out remotely somewhere else where there's a ton of metal nodes, and just fly your RG over. Just jump off your RG, use your Anki to obviously gather the metal up, and then dump it all on your RG and fly back to base. These guys are essential for, your high-end tribes, because obviously you're going to need a lot of metal to keep up with the demand of, building a new base out of metal and whatnot. You can see 27 metal weighs 6.8 on the RG. On us, it weighs 27. So it's a huge difference in between weight differences. Obviously, the RG is only going to reduce that by 50%. If you do have metal nodes near your new base location, just walk out with your Anki and do it like that, because that is essentially just as effective, if not more effective, because you have your Anki nearby with you. Now, this also could include the Diggity, because if you do plan to build out of stone, which obviously I wouldn't really recommend if you've just been raided on a server, I wouldn't really recommend rebuilding out of stone, but you can tame up a Diggity as well, obviously, for the stone. So the Diggity is kind of in here, but kind of not, if that makes sense. But I would definitely recommend getting an RG, and that is why, not an RG, sorry, an Ankilo. And that is why the Anki is number 3 on this list. Now, number 2 on this list is the Megatherium. Now, once again, much like number 6, this is all down to your personal preference. You could easily sub out the Megatherium for a Therizinosaurus. However, I do prefer the Megatherium because, much like the Therizinosaurus, it's able to gather fiber, meat, hide, wood, thatch, and decent amounts of it. Obviously, it's not on par with the Therizinosaurus, but it is still able to gather quite a lot of resources from these surrounding areas. Now, as well as that, it is also the king of chitin gathering because of its buff that it gets versus bugs. So you're obviously going to need a lot of cementing paste, and if you choose to do it using chitin, then you're definitely going to need a Megatherium to farm up all that chitin that you will need. Now, these guys are great. They have great all-round stats. You can see here their health is pretty good. Stamina is really good. Weight is actually ridiculously high on these guys, and the melee damage on them is also really good. Now, like I said, when they come into contact with bugs, they get the passive raging bonus, where they deal an extra 25% to the bugs. However, when they kill an actual bug, they will then get an extra 25% bonus against all creatures. And you saw they were successfully able to harvest the trike up for his hide and raw meat, so these guys can be used to gather that as well. But like I said, it comes down to your personal preference and what you like to use. You can swap out the Megatherium for a Therizinosaurus. I personally prefer the Megatherium. Only thing the Therizino really has over the Megatherium is that it gathers wood slightly better, and that it has the extra levels that you can pump into it to increase its gathering effectiveness. But other than that, the Megatherium is definitely worth taming and one of my favourite creatures. And you can easily use him to take on the Broodmother as boss, breed him up, get an army of Megatheriums, and easily take on the Broodmother in the arena. And finally, number 1 on this list is the T-Rex. After you finish gathering, all your narcotics and whatnot that you need to make all the trank arrows, and once you finish setting up your base with your Ankis and your Megatheriums and whatnot, you definitely need to get into a Rex. Not only to get revenge on those that raided you, obviously one Rex probably won't do the trick, you need an army of them, but you can easily find high level ones, breed them up, and just absolutely wreck the face off everything and anything that decides to try and attack you. These guys are great. Obviously, you can then use them in the boss battles as well, so they do have a long-term goal as well as a short-term goal of, attacking back the people that attacked you. So do take that into mind, but, these guys are great. Now, there can be some debate about this because you can easily swap out the Spino for the Rex, especially since it has received its TLC pass. Personally, though, I would go with the Rex because of its extra ability, its extra health, its tankiness. And to be honest with you, I normally find rarer Rex saddles than I do over Spino saddles. So that is why the Rex is number 1 on this list and not the Spino. Just because of that reason, granted there is water around most of Ragnarok and wherever else you need to travel, the Spino can wade through them. However, the Rex is still the king of Ark aside from the Giga. But, the Giga you can easily get into later on down the line once you feel comfortable with doing that. You can easily bypass taming up a Rex and just go straight for a Giga. It all goes down to you ultimately and what you guys like to use on top of everything else. But that'll pretty much conclude today's list, guys. Let me know what you thought of it down below in the comments. Let me know if you agree with it all or not. But other than that, Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.
Got this soda,